Hey there, YouTube land. Dell the Martial Marketer is back from vacation and back in Dallas. So we take another stab at training the martial art of marketing. I got back in today, and after all the swimming I did and all the other stuff while I was on vacation, wake up and it is 40 degrees outside. So I am now getting ready to do some cold weather training, and something I do every year as winter approaches. I try to push the envelope a little bit more every year to see how much more cold weather training I can do and how far I can take it. I wanted to go ahead and do another video today and keep going with this series on the mind and what that means to us in Kung Fu and marketing and in life. And today I kind of wanted to put something out about potential. And I kind of just talked about it just now because every year I do a little bit more cold weather training, and most people that know me know I don't particularly like the cold. But I go out and I brave the cold, and I push myself a little bit more every year to see how well I can function in it and how far I can take my Kung Fu out there in the cold. And that made me think of just the topic of potential as a subset of mind training. We do what I affectionately call backyard Kung Fu. And what that means is we don't have an established Kwoon or training hall. We just basically go out to the backyard, garage, or wherever, and we do our thing here. Every once in a while, we get someone new that wants to join up, and usually it is through word of mouth, and they get introduced by someone that's already in the group. And not too long ago, I was thinking that we had a young man from a nearby college. I actually lived down the road from the University of Texas at Dallas, and he had heard about our little group from another member. He wanted to try it. And right from the very beginning, we went through some basics. And of course, as with everything else I preach here, we start with the foundation. And he was having great difficulty with what we were doing, as is usually the case for most people. And right away, his self-talk started up. I don't know if I can do this. I don't think I can do this. I don't think I have the ability to do this. He and I talked a couple of times, and I just let him know that he was starting out the same way everyone else was starting, but that he needed to exhibit some persistence from our last video. And he tried it, I think, for maybe 3 to 4 sessions or so, and he gave up, still saying the same things, that he didn't know if he was able to do this. To me, that speaks to potential and realizing or not realizing what your innate potential is. And I've been treated to being able to observe some fairly high levels of human potential. Some of them I've observed in the flesh, some of them I know through secondhand information. I know of a Japanese martial artist, Sagawa was his last name. And I've seen the videos, the clips and pictures. I've talked to some people that actually were around for this, and from there I've gleaned information that indicates that here was a gentleman in his 90s who was able to take 20-some-odd-year-olds and throw them around like rag dolls. And every once in a while he would get interviewed by his students. He'd be asked how he could do that. And he'd say that he just developed himself to the point where age did not matter, that limits no longer applied to him in the same way as they applied to a normal person out there. I thought that was really interesting because if you think of a 90-year-old, you think of someone that's decrepit, hobbling around somewhere, probably in a nursing home, or if they're not in a nursing home, they're sitting in some corner of someone's house watching TV and maybe hunched over in a chair, not doing much with their lives anymore. This gentleman was a powerful exception to that set of seeming rules. Knowing about him, knowing about his ability in his life, has made me think. It made me rethink sometimes what my own abilities are and what my potential might be. I'm going to give you an example closer to home, and that is my Kung Fu teacher, the greatest, I think, of my Kung Fu teachers that I currently train with. And this is a gentleman that is in his late 50s. If you look at him, frankly, he doesn't look like much. Sorry, Sifu. But no, if you look at him, he doesn't look particularly athletic. He doesn't look like a tough guy. He looks like a very humble, everyday person. But he has abilities and talents that are beyond what most people would think would be the norm. And one of them, I'll give you an example. He had me at one point in time throw some strikes at him when he was standing in the middle of the room with his eyes tightly shut. So here I am tossing strikes at him from all sorts of different angles, and he, with his eyes closed, he's blocking the strikes. He's not touching me, by the way. It's not a tactile sort of thing. He just knew when these strikes are coming. Now, I am somewhere in the spectrum between being a skeptic and being an idealist. So I was experiencing this, watching this unfold before me, and I was thinking, grousing, all these magician tricks. So I tried to foil him by putting him in different positions, by making the room light up a little bit more, darkening the room some, making sure that there were no light sources behind me that were casting shadows. I stood stock still and just used my upper body to throw strikes to make sure that I wasn't stepping so he could hear me. Then I blindfolded him each and every time, no matter what kind of strike I threw, no matter how much I silenced my breath to make sure that I wasn't exhaling on a strike and he was hearing that. No matter how sneaky I tried to be, every time a strike would get close to him, he'd block it. Sometimes I would feint and pretend to throw one. Well, it wasn't coming anywhere near him, and there was no intention behind what I was doing. So he was just calmly standing there, blindfolded or with his eyes closed, waiting for me to throw a real strike. Then I'd throw it. Then he'd bat my arm away. However you want to explain this, if you take the rank and file person out there, just average person walking down the street, and ask him to do that, he'll probably not even try. He'll say, "That's impossible. No, there's no way I could do that." What the heck does this little story have to do with marketing? Well, the same thing that happened with this newbie in our Kung Fu group, I've also seen happen with my own little group that I have here in Dallas, where we explore marketing, affiliate marketing, network marketing. People will show up every once in a while, or they'll correspond with me, or we'll do it virtually online, and they'll have this idea in their heads that they really can't do this, that this is reserved for other people that somehow have the talent to do it, or that have some sort of inborn knowledge. And they're just as incorrect as the young gentleman that joined the Kung Fu group. The point is, I really think that we all have so much more potential that we're willing to give ourselves credit for. So I'm kind of on a journey myself to embrace my potential. It's why I do this Kung Fu. It's why I do marketing. I want to see how far I can go. I want to see how far I can evolve. And I think ultimately we could all do so much more if we didn't block ourselves from those achievements. So I tend to reduce things. I tend to simplify things because I think simplicity is really where it's at. And the message I think behind all this is, to me and to you, to everybody else, is don't sell yourself short. And that's what I want to have us think about a little bit today. How we might be selling ourselves short, and how if we stop doing that, what we might be really and truly capable of achieving, whether it's in kung fu pursuits, whether it's in our relationships and life, or whether in business and marketing. That's the purpose behind me having this little chat with you today. So hopefully it's given you something to think about. Maybe it'll cause you to think about doing something to push your own envelope a little bit more and to see what your potential really may be. So try that kind of training if it speaks to you, to push yourself a little bit more and get a glimpse of your innate potential. Whatever you do, train with a purpose.